Okay, so there are quite a few things that are in this subtask. So I would suggest starting from the easier things, then going to the actual service logic later. So what we're going to do here, just a quick overview, we're going to take those classes that we just scanned and iterate them and search for classes with, let's say, service annotation or with a custom annotation that the client is going to provide. We're going to that in a second. So we're going to map those classes. We're going to get their PostConstruct predestroy annotations if there are any, and finally we're going to return a set of all those scanned objects, and we're going to sort them by the parameters in the constructor. So let's start with defining some of the annotations that we're going to use. So annotation bean attention runtime target element type methods. Obviously beans methods are being annotated with bean, so next. Service type. Sorry. Like that. Classes are annotated with service, so we're choosing type. Then we're going to PostConstruct target element type method. Okay. Destroy. Element type method. There are more. Outwired. Attention policy. Target element type constructor. Are there any other? For now, no. We have one more annotation, but we're going to create it as we need it. Okay. So as I mentioned, yeah, you can annotate your class with service, for example, but we want to have it so the client that is using this library will have the option to have his own service annotations. So in order to do that, we'll have to create a configuration for this. So configuration will be basic builder pattern style. So let's create one class for those sub configurations. So let's call this base sub configuration. Yep. Private final magic configuration. Config. Make this abstract, make this protected, and we'll have one public magic configuration. And if you know if you know the builder patterns, you know that there's one end which goes one step back. So that's what we are doing here. And now we will have configurations. Okay, so we will have probably one more configuration other than the one that we're going to make right now. Obviously not a lot of configurations, but still. Okay, so this configuration will be called custom annotations configuration extends base subconfiguration. Make that public. Okay, so this will have private final set of class that this is going to be custom service annotations, and we're going to have private final set class extends annotation custom bean annotations. So yeah, we're going to have from those, the only annotations that are going to be configurable are the beans and the services. So why are we doing that? Well, perhaps the client wants to have maybe on the service he wants to have some methods here, so he can get all from the dependency container when it's ready. He can get services by annotation, and he can choose his annotation, and he can do whatever he wants with those services. That's why we're providing that option. Okay, so this custom service annotations equals new hashset, like that, and this custom annotations equals new hashset. Okay, so public custom annotation configuration add custom service annotation class extends annotation. So this custom service annotations add annotation and return this, so we can chain the builder pattern. Public custom annotation configuration add custom service annotations. So we will have class extends annotation. In that case, the user can add multiple annotations. So these custom service annotations add all arrays as list annotations. So the same, basically, I can copy those like that. Add custom bean annotation. Custom bean annotations. Add custom bean annotations. Okay. So that should also, we can create getters for those like that, so we can access it within the code. Okay, looks good. Now let's go to the magic configuration itself, and let's have here private final custom annotations configuration. Let's call it annotations. Oh, sorry. This annotations equals new custom annotations configuration. As this as a parameter, as you know, we need the parent config. So Then we're going to have public custom annotation configuration, annotations, and return these annotations. And we're going to have also, this is not really necessary, but just to make the code look better, when we use it, we can have public magic configuration build, return this. See what I just did here? Oh my god. We don't have to do it here, we have to do it here. Okay. Public custom annotations configuration, annotations, return these annotations. Public magic configuration build, return this. Okay. Seems okay. Are we missing something here? No. So let's build and see if it's working. Okay, so I think we're done with the configuration. So if you're wondering, we can use it like new magic configuration dot annotations dot add custom annotation, then add custom bean annotation, and so on. So we'll get to that once we start testing it. Okay, so now let's move to creating the comparator tool that is going to compare our no, actually first we need to create the actual model that is going to store those mapped services. So let's go to models and let's create service details, for example. So this model is going to store our actually it's going to store many things about our scanned class, so we can then access it later and don't have to scan for it every time. We will only scan once and we'll have it all in this model. So let's make it generic and say private class service type, private annotation. This is the annotation that is going to be used we use to map the service. So this can be service or a custom one that the client has provided. Okay, so now we're going to have private constructor target constructor, this. Also here we can have the actual instance of the service, if there is any. We can have private method PostConstruct method, private method pre-destroy method. What else can we have here? We can have private method like that, beans. So as you know, we can have bean here. If that was a service like that, we could have bean here. So when we're scanning the service, we need to check for beans as well. So yeah, we're going to have that. Also, what we're going to have is going to be list of service details like that. Those are going to be the dependent services. So why we're doing that? This is because we're going to have a relation with services that rely on this one. So if this was, for example, let's say user service, this the service type, and let's say some other service relied on this, that service that's relying on our is going to be present in this list. This will be easier for them. If we reload the service, we're going to use that list to see which services should we also refresh. Okay, so service details, that is dependent services equals new array list. Okay, so we can create the getters and setters like that. We can leave this one for now because we'll go here and say get return collections modifiable list dependent services. Also, we're going to have public void add dependent service service details is dependent services add service details like that. Okay, one more thing. We want to make that service details object to be unique because we're going to store it in a set, so in a hash set. So you know, hash set relies on hash code to check if something is unique. So I'm going to override the hash code, and here we're going to say if this service type is different than no, or actually if it is no, return like that the default hash code, but if it's not, return this service type dot hash code. So this will help us, since service types will always have the same hash codes for their specific type. This will make our service details class unique. So that's why we're adding this override. Okay, so next you want to make a comparator for this object, which will compare the constructor parameters in ascending order. So let's go and create it. Service details constructor comparator comparer. Comparator. Okay. Okay. Okay, so service details 1, service details 2. Okay, so return integer compare like that. Get constructor, get parameters count, and service 2 get constructor, get parameters count. Okay, so let's just move it to another line so it looks better. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for the comparer. Nothing special. So I guess now we'll have to move to the actual service that will do all this scanning. So the service is going to be called services scanning service. It's going to have one method, set of service details scan classes. or maybe map services sounds a bit better. Set of class located like so. Let's create the implementation. Services scanning. Implementation. Okay, and how we're going to use that service is like that. So, located classes, and so let's remove that because we don't need it anymore. So, service new service implementation. Like that, but in our implementation we'll actually need what was the name, custom annotations configuration, so like that. That's because in this service we're going to scan those classes for annotations, so we're going to need the client provided ones. So back here we need configuration. Yes, but we need configuration dot annotations like that. Okay. And so after we've located our classes, we can say scanning service map services located classes, but rename that to located like that, and print the service details like that. Okay, let's go to the implementation and let's start doing this. Okay, let's create our storage for the service details. As I said, we're storing it in a hash set, that's why we needed that hash code that we override here. And return the service details. Okay, so we start iterating the located classes. So first off, we need to make sure that the classes that we're iterating here are actually classes and not interfaces. So if it's interface, continue. Okay. That's great. Now we need to create a service details object out of this class. So in order to make it a little easier, we can create a new constructor here, and that will accept all the initial requirements that we need. So service details like that, and we're going to take class T service type annotation. Here's the constructor as well. What else? Method PostConstruct method destroy. Let me just move those to the other line like this. Method beans. So this, and now this set annotation, this set target constructor, this set post. Okay, so this seems to be fine. We're not missing anything. Obviously we don't need instance since we're not instantiating, we're always only mapping right now. So let's go back. So service details. Let's rename that to something like this. With no service details. So we're passing first the class. Obviously, we need to do that. Sorry, my mistake. We can do that to every class. Obviously, we need first we need to check if that class is compliant, if it has the annotation. So here we're going to have let's get it first. So configuration, get custom service annotations like that. Okay, so custom service annotations add our annotation, so service.class. So basically we'll have all the custom service annotations that the client has provided plus the service one that is like by default. Okay, so now we need to get all the annotations for that class. So get annotations, and we're starting to iterate on them. Okay, so if custom service annotations contains annotation, in that case only then we're going to have this instantiation here. Okay, so here as the second parameter we pass the annotation. As the third parameter, what was it? The constructor. So private constructor find suitable constructor. From this class. Okay, so constructor by default is going to be get declared constructors, the first one basically. Like that. But obviously we have this auto-wired annotation, so we have to prioritize it. So we're going to do get declared constructors like this. Okay, so if constructor is annotation present, auto-wire.class. Yeah, we actually won't need this right here, but okay. Constructor set accessible true, and basically return it. Yeah, and here we won't need that, but we are going to need just return get constructors, not all of them, but just the public ones, and get the first one. Okay, So this is going to be our suitable constructor. So this find suitable constructor for this class. Okay, next PostConstruct and pre-destroy. Okay. Private method. Okay, so first let's discuss what is exactly a PostConstruct and pre-destroy methods. So they are they must be void and they must have no parameters. That's the one thing that should always be the case. So we can say here find void method with 0 params and annotation, and then class extends annotation and the class itself, like that. Okay. Let's go. So class get declared methods like this. Also, we're doing this. So we only need one PostConstruct. So basically, if there are two PostConstruct methods, we're only getting the first one. We can have more than one PostConstruct. So yeah. Okay. So if method get parameters count, if it's different than 0, or so now we have to check the return type. Also return type, it also must be void. So method get return type, it's not void, and because we have two types of void, method get return type, it's not void, the wrapper class, then continue. Let's see if this is true. So if our parameters are not 0 and the return type or the return type is not void and the return type is not the bigger void, we must continue. Seems like okay. Also we can check here, or method is annotation present, annotation. If it's not, we can also do it like that. Otherwise, method set accessible to, then return that method. Return no by default if there is no. This is okay. I mean, not every class has to have this method, so it's okay. Okay, so yeah, if there's something wrong, I guess we'll probably find out in a bit. Okay, this find void method with annotation, PostConstruct in this class, and then find void pre-destroy also this class. Okay, so PostConstruct pre-destroy. Okay, and there are the beans that are left to find. Okay, so let's create another here method, private method find beans. Obviously this time we are returning all the methods that are being annotated because they are different. Like that. So in order for bean to be compliant, we need first I have to say this configuration get custom bean annotations. This, and then bean annotations add class like that. So we have all the client annotations plus our by default. Also, looking at it like that, I think that we can extract this logic. Let's just do that quickly. Private void init. So this configuration that gets custom bean annotations add bean class, and this configuration gets custom service add service class. That's a little better, I think, instead of adding them every time. So just call here this init like that. Okay, great. Now we need to get declared methods, iterate them like that. And now in order for method to be bean compliant, it needs to have 0 parameters as well. So if method get parameters count equals 0, then we'll have to skip it. Or if method get return type equals void, or method get return type equals void. In that case, we'll have to continue. Okay, so let's now go annotations, iterate them like that, and see if method is annotation present. In this case, we'll also need to have here final set, or yeah, set of methods, bean methods. So if the annotation for this bean is present, then bean methods add this method. Okay. So when it comes to returning, we're returning bean methods to array and method new. Yeah. Okay. So this find beans for this class. So yeah, that should do it. We should be able to scan classes. Let me see what's going on here. That's not cool. Yeah, because we want to annotation type. Yeah, we were going to have problem here because we are going to always going to get false here. Okay, and about that, I'll just leave it for now like this unchecked, and then we'll find a solution for it, hopefully. Okay, so let's run and see if everything builds up. Okay, so we get an empty array, obviously because we don't have any service annotated classes. So let's create one or two maybe. Let's put in a package test. So test service one service. Let's run. Empty array again. Okay, we'll have to check that. Let's just create a bunch more separate. Anyway, test service 2 service, and this one is going to have like private void on init PostConstruct, probably void on destroy. Okay. Also this one, test service 1, like that. Okay, so now let's debug and see what's not working here. Okay, so let's go here first. Okay, so our class is exactly test service 1. Okay, so annotations, annotation is service exactly. So custom service annotations contains one service. Okay, so go here and let's see service details. First one is the service type is no. Okay, we'll have to check that, but PostConstruct for this one. Yeah, okay, so they were found as well. Target constructor was also found. Great. So beans are none. Okay, so it seems like this is working. Great, so let's go and test service 2. Let's make this take a parameter, let's say int age, and this one return something like string, and see if they are being detected now. Okay, so service details 0, none, and also no. So yeah, it's not detecting them, which is proper functionality. So other service, like that. And now let's go to test service 2 and let's say bin public void other public other service, like that. Return new other service. So we should have now one bean here. Let's see. Why isn't the debugger working? Okay, so service details, beans, no. Maybe the second one, no. Seems like it's not recognizing them. Okay, I guess we'll have to check and see what's going on. All right. Let's go to the service implementation then. Find beans. Okay, let's enter the debugger and see what's going on. Okay, so the class is test service 1, we don't need that, we need the test service 2, okay. So we're looking at test service 1, which is the first one, we don't need that, so let's continue. Test service 2, okay, F8. Okay, so I think I spotted the error. This should be different than 0, but let's see on init, on destroy. Okay, so we basically just never got there, so I think that if we change those parameters, it will be okay. So this way we should be able to come here then, if it's all working. Yeah, so the method is on destroy. Yeah, because on destroy currently service 2. Yeah, because it's returning string, but if it was void, it would have come. Okay, so actually we have to set this to something other service like that. So now it should work. Let's just put the debugger here. Continue. Service details. Test service 2. Okay, so we have the beans as well. Okay. So another thing that we can test right now is actually we didn't sort those service details, so we can do that. So stream sorted new what was it, service details constructor comparator. Okay, to set yeah, okay, to collection, link it, hash set. So yeah, if it was just a set, it would be redundant because the sort wouldn't matter. Okay, so also one thing I forgot to do here is if we got a working method, we should set it accessibility to true and also break the for loop, so we don't need to iterate it more, and also we should break the loop, yeah, right here. So okay, let's run it and let's see now if they are sorting properly. So we're getting test service 2 first and then test service 1. So let's see, test service 2 is constructor. It should be getting this one because it has the outwired annotation, has 0 parameters, and test service 1 has 2 parameters. That's why we're getting in such order. So if we remove those 2 parameters and run again, test service 1 should be on first place. So yeah, this one is also working properly, so I think that we are ready with the third task, which is mapping classes and their dependencies. Okay, so while I was recording this, I actually had a little problem. I just did those tests. I did the outwired stuff, but I accidentally pressed the button to stop recording, so I'm sorry for that. You have to trust me. I haven't made any changes to the code, so you haven't missed anything. I just did some tests, like tests to see if outwired is working properly. It's working properly. Okay, so we're moving on to the next subtask, which is to make instances of the classes that we just mapped.